Welcome to episode 186 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar. He is back. How you doing, Warren?
Well, was I not back last time? I don't remember anymore.
You're back.
Yeah, I'm back now.
You're here.
Yeah. No, I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to talking about Apple stuff again because it's been a while, and I got to get my brain back into gear. So
yeah, get away from Windows. And back on the show, always enjoy having him back. Chuck Joyner. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great, Dave. I stay away from Windows as much as I can.
Yes, I can't, but
yeah. Sometimes you got to do
I'm really trying hard. I've been using my Mac more and more at work now.
So, yeah, I mean, look at work. My new job.
He's showing it on camera. His
it's a Surface
Pro
laptop as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not. Yeah. Well, it's something.
Hey, Warren.
Who might have turned down free computers?
Warren, throw it like a frisbee into that black chair behind you, and let's see how well it sails.
That's right.
Well, the screen doesn't detach on this one, but maybe it will if I do that. So,
if you try hard enough.
Yeah, maybe I'll wait till I start the job before I start. Actually, the joke is real fast. They asked me if I want an iPhone or an Android, and I already have the iPhone. So I don't want to carry around two iPhones because I just don't. So I said Android. So they're shipping me an Android, and then I wrote him back, and the guy who I'm going to work for, and said I'm going to need something to throw across the room. So
yeah, lots of news this week we've gone through. Beta actually, as we record, the release candidate just got released for 15.3. We'll talk about that and see where things go here. And let's just go ahead and get started. First story I have here from Mac Rumors. Apple says option to stay on iOS 14 was always meant to be temporary. Last week, Mac Rumors did share the news that Apple had stopped releasing iOS 14 security updates, was pushing those still on iOS 14 to upgrade iOS 15, an apparent reversal of a promise to allow users to stay on that version of iOS 14. Apple did tell Ars Technica that the option to stay on iOS 14 and avoid iOS 15 upgrade was always meant to be temporary. It is not a mistake that there are no more security updates to iOS 14, and support was for the update has essentially ended. This is kind of unique, I think, because I haven't seen Apple do this before, and they've always just transitioned right to the next version and then say, okay, let's move on. And but there was a bit of a stall here. But what do you think, Chuck? I thought this was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting that they did it. I'm not quite exactly sure why, except that there were some, if I remember correctly, there were new features in 15 that maybe weren't quite maybe completely baked. But I also think this is maybe not a non-story, but it's just not the big deal that everyone is making over it. Because sooner or later, you were going to go to 15 or 16 or 17 or whatever. And so, of course, eventually they were going to drop it. And the way that Apple's been doing things, especially on iOS, you knew that this wasn't long for this world, that they were going to move it along. Right. This fast? Well, what's it been? Are we at 5 or 6 months now? Since, or do I have that right? Since maybe
September. 4, so
it's just I just people just analyze everything that Apple says and take it so literally, and I just question what the big deal is. I mean, okay, now 15 is pretty mature. They feel comfortable pushing people to 15. I don't think that most people are going to notice that many differences. In fact, in some ways, I'm kind of sorry they waited this long, because all the promo articles are out there about the new features are now kind of old news. So now if someone who was hanging on to 14 upgrades to 15, and they're going to forget about those new features unless Apple happens to steer them to them. So it's not a big deal to me, but yeah, some people seem to be really excited over it.
Yeah, it seems to be. What do you think, though, Warren?
I know we did, but when when 15 first came out and we noticed that feature, we praised it along with other outlets and news outlets and podcasts saying, "Hey, it's great. You could, for the people who don't want to do this, Apple's good. They're doing this. It's good." And they had to have seen some press on that saying, people think it's a good thing. The fact that they didn't come out at that point and say, slow down, guys. This is just while we do a little transition. It's not going to last that long. But they waited till they actually removed it, and then they removed it and then told you. So, like Chuck said, I think everybody should be on the latest version of most operating systems, anyways. Me, I'm the opposite of waiting till the second point release. I'm going -5, -6 pretty much on the betas. So, but for everybody else, it's been a long time since I went to an operating system and had like major issues doing so. So,
right.
I never feel wrong suggesting that somebody update to the latest when it first comes out. But that's me.
Yep. It's time to upgrade. Let's face it. I was actually surprised, like I said, that Apple was kind of just saying, "Oh, here, by the way, here's iOS 15," and because they always put it in your face right away as soon as it would come out, and then still, with our 72, or we reported 72% have already adopted it, iOS 15. So, go figure. Very surprising. So, let's go ahead and move on here. And this was interesting. Mac Rumors iPhone was the most popular smartphone in Q4 of 2021. iPhone accounted for 1/5 of all smartphone shipments in the Q4 of 2021, allowing Apple to reclaim first place as the biggest smartphone vendor, according to a report from Canellis. Canellis estimates that iPhone accounted for about 22% of the worldwide smartphone shipments in the Q4 of 2021. That the scale Apple shipments is thanks in strong demand for the iPhone 13 lineup, which of course we just talked about, and launched with the iOS 15 in September. It's good to see. I like to see this continue. Obviously, these are numbers that are by analysts that they aren't actual numbers from Apple. So, how are you going to really justify them? But you kind of take this stuff with a grain of salt sometimes, but still good to hear and to see. What do you think, Chuck? I think it's something as we probably not even have to know. It is a popular iPhone phone.
Yeah, we talk about this so much, and we sound like Apple fanboys because I guess we are. But this really is not a big surprise. It just seems like it's so ubiquitous out there. There are times I wonder if Apple had 1/5, that means somebody else or some other entities, note the plural entities, had 4/5. Who are these people and where are they? Because they're not anywhere that I go. And I'm not talking about, tech people. Yeah, I'll see Androids occasionally, but I don't see that many. I try to figure out, what is it? Is it the low end of the market that is popular with these, or that this is popular with? I don't know who again, there are plenty of tech people out there that carry an Android, but I don't know that they just aren't obvious.
Yeah, I agree. But what do you think, Warren?
Yeah, I see a lot of people with Androids, but it depends on what circles you hang out and where you work, things like that.
True.
My in-laws, there's that. And then, I worked at a retirement community, and the elderly have Androids because they do. But yeah, I see plenty more iPhones, just like you guys, in the wild. So, yeah. We're Apple people, and we could spot them from a mile away. So we see a lot of them. We know what they look like.
It's true.
So,
Warren, I'm curious. You say the elderly that you work with have Androids.
Them,
is there a reason? Are there particular apps, or is there something about the Android that? And I don't hate not talking down to anybody here, but just is there something that makes it appealing to that particular demographic?
Yeah, a couple things actually. One is there's a lot of companies that cater to the elderly, like Consumer Cellular, and I think there's a few others, and they will strictly give you the cheapest Android device with their plan. And there's a few like that. So, consumer cellular, some of them have, flip phones. The ones that, want to save money too will always go Android. And, when when we're at that age, we'll be different because we know technology a little bit more, but they did not grow up around it. So they're going to, just take whatever's given to them at that point. So I think just price point, and they don't care that much, to be honest with you about it. It's like I said it before, like we're in the middle where we care about nice things, security, things like that. You go into younger group and they're like sending, they're going through WhatsApp and all the things that we think are bad and things like that. They don't care either. Then you get to the elderly where you don't care either. So, we're pretty much, I would say the demographic of a iPhone user is probably between 20 and 50, 60, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's still plenty of people out there who are still on 3G. So they have flip phones and they have review. There's somebody I work with that's like that, and I said, "Did you get your phone switched yet? Because it's going to be gone by the end of the month. You better get going."
You guys haven't lived until you had an 80-year-old lady come to you with a flip phone and said, "Can I get Snapchat on this? Because my grandson's on Snapchat." And it's happened multiple times.
So, no, sorry, you are not going to be getting it. Good to see. And then this story also, this was in Apple Insider. Apple Music is the second most used music streaming service globally. Spotify remains in the top spot. New research shows that Apple Music accounts for about 15% of the global music streaming market, still falling behind streaming giant Spotify, which holds more than 30%. Apple Music is the second most widely used, and it's as you say, Spotify remains at the top. Not surprised.
Paying customers for Spotify, or does it say?
Yeah, I believe it says. Well, I don't see it mentioning that, but
because if it's not the paying, then because all the kids, it's going to get more free listeners than because Apple doesn't have a free tier. So a lot of people.
Yeah, there's no mention of that actually. That you say that. But it would only make sense. These numbers, they got the chart here, and this as far as saying that there is growth, and they're basing on other services like YouTube Music and Amazon Music's got 13%. But I would think this is paid. That it would make sense to me. It would be to be because you get the full. Spotify is limited when I think in its free tier. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't care, and free is free. So, I mean, the numbers would make sense if it was a free version. I'm just reading some of the comments, but I don't see.
Yeah, I don't see much of that.
Well, and having Amazon at 12 doesn't surprise me either, given the popularity of Amazon Prime.
Right.
So, what I don't know in this one is that the paid version of Amazon Music, or is that the free tier of Amazon Music that comes with Prime? So, a lot of little
questions on
things to slice up and try to figure out if you really are that into it.
Because Amazon, I mean, right? If they count everybody with Amazon Prime, which comes with Apple Music, Amazon Basic Music, then that's a lot. So,
yeah.
I honestly don't know anybody that subscribed to the Amazon paid tier music.
It's part of Prime.
No, it's not. There's another tier. So you get to pay.
Right. There's a higher tier.
There's a higher tier. So I've never done that. I don't know if anybody else has, but.
Yeah, and I don't want to slam Amazon because I'm a Prime member and I'm very happy with it. But I don't use the music simply because I've tried it, and I ask it to play a particular artist, and it legitimately will play a particular artist. But it's a track that I've never heard from an album I've never heard. It's a compilation somewhere. So yes, it's by that artist, but it just is kind of been a little bit disappointing. It's either just out of date music or not the tracks you really want to hear.
Right. Sometimes it will come out and say, Bee Gees Disco Ball is not part of the free service. Do you want to subscribe to the music if you want to do that? But I generally will get the right song if I ask for it, and if it's something you got to pay for, it will tell me. But I have my HomePod set to Siri and Amazon, and it's nice that you could tell it which service to use, and if find whichever one works.
Yep.
I feel obligated to say that I will pay for a service that will keep the Bee Gees off of my HomePod.
You're the only one.
You're the only one, baby.
I'm the only one. Yeah.
Everybody loves it.
There was a lot of popularity when they had their documentary on. So
yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on. This was interesting. Apple support says that this is a 9 to 5 Mac. Apple support says iPhone 13 models don't support noise cancellation feature that was available in previous iPhones. A few weeks ago, 9 to 5 Mac reported that an outgrowing complaint of iPhone 13 users about the lack of a noise canceling feature for phone calls through the accessibility settings that is available to all previous iPhones, but not the newer ones. Now, what we thought could be just a bug is actually Apple removing the feature. So Apple does say we have an update on this. The phone noise cancellation is not available on iPhone 13 models, which is why you don't see it. They didn't get their clarification from Apple about this, and it's kind of interesting to see why. And there's even an Apple support stream here that was when they reached out to Apple support on Twitter. So I don't see any clear why there isn't anything here. They say the only workaround here would be activating the voice isolation feature on a call in Control Center. So it seems like a few steps you had to step through. For as many phone calls as I make, I don't think this is a huge deal for me. Chuck, what do you think? What do you think, Warren?
I was just real quick. I'm just going to say I didn't even know it existed, this feature. So yeah, color me in that field.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that, Warren. I think it would be really interesting to know if these people that were looking for it actually actively turned it on and off on a regular basis. Yeah. Because I haven't noticed it on my phone, and I have not heard anyone say that, gee, you sound noisier or you don't sound as noisy as you usually do or used to. So I have to wonder if maybe they're using a better microphone, that it's not needed. The noise cancellation isn't needed, or what? But yeah, this is sort of a mystery.
If I'm on the phone and somebody says I can't hear, just too much in the background, I'm like, deal with it.
Yeah. Yep. So let's go ahead and move on here. The Apple U.S. Education Store is now requiring institutional verification to buy discounted products. Wow. Apple is now requiring that customers in the United States verify that they are active students, teachers, or staff members at an educational institution in order to access education discounts on products. Previously, a little verification was needed, and I will definitely attest to that because my wife is a teacher, but so she is legitimately getting a discount. But I would put it in my name, and it still would be her purchase. But it seems like Apple has changed this to be a little more stringent when it comes to education. Again, I get a business discount, so I'm not probably I get a better discount than I do with education. But any thoughts on this, Chuck?
Just if it's an education discount, then it's an education discount.
Right.
It should be, and it shouldn't be one that you can dance around. So I think this is a good thing. I'm sure there were people out there that were abusing it. And I mean, really openly,
people who were not, we're not education legit. I mean, I am only because that's my wife. So, but there are probably some that
it's a blurry line too. I mean,
it was.
So I mean, here's the line: is let's put it this way: I buy a new MacBook under the discount. I've done it almost all the time when I buy from Apple because I'll buy from you can buy it from like Best Buy, but you got to wait. And I normally buy it when it comes out. So yeah, if you wanted to wait like a month, you could buy it at Best Buy at the discount anyways. But I give my son's a student, and I give my old one to him at that time. So does that count?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, again, it was stupidly easy to do, just like you said. There was no verification. You go to Apple Education website and log in with your Apple ID, and you buy it, pick up at store, or have it delivered, and that's what you did. They also have a military one that does require verification, so
of course
they know how to do it. right? So if they really wanted to do it, I think they would have done it more. I don't know. I buy so much Apple stuff. It's really hard for me to feel bad about shaving a little bit off the like millions of dollars I've spent on their products.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
It is millions.
I mean, we all spend a lot of, I mean, we're good customers. Not only do we have a lot of, we buy a lot of their stuff, but we sell a lot of their stuff. We pimp it out, and we're brand ambassadors, if you want to say. So do I feel bad about getting $75 off a MacBook Air because I say it's for a student and may or may not be? Not so much.
Yeah.
I've just achieved ambassadorial status.
You are
You
are the king of brand ambassador. You are the brand, like you're the head. Of, yeah. So
no, I mean, again, I think it's great that Apple is supporting the military and Apple is supporting education, and it should be legitimate that that's what they're doing. It just, I mean, if they were being sloppy about it before, okay, now they've tightened it down. There are going to be people that complain about that, well, I used to be able to get it. Now I can't. Well, yeah. Okay. So you took advantage of it. You saved a couple bucks along the way. Now it's time to pony up with the rest of us.
Now I have a kid in college with an EDU mailbox. So
yeah.
I mean, again, it eventually gets to him anyways. So, it's almost like a
yeah. It's legit enough for you. It's legit enough for me. But like we said, people who are not involved with education at all, not so fair. But well, it's good that Apple's doing it. Yeah. This next article is right up Warren's alley here, being he is a Tesla owner, a 9-to-5 Mac. Tesla refuses to adopt CarPlay. No surprise there. But this developer has a workaround. This was just published this week as we record. Over the weekend, Polish developer shared a fascinating look at CarPlay running on his Tesla Model 3. The automaker doesn't support CarPlay, so this workaround was with some major caveats. So let's say that says that word major. Will certainly grab the attention of those who have been asking for this functionality for years. Tesla writes its own software, and I'll let you elaborate on this in a minute here, Warren. And CarPlay support coming to Teslas would be a dream come true for many owners, but I just don't see it happening. There was a video on Twitter that actually shows here that the steering wheel scroll wheel was working to control Apple Music and the CarPlay workaround. But like I said, notice what caveats. Mr. Tesla owner, what do you think?
I mean, the first thing I think when you just said that is trying to control the CarPlay through the steering wheels will definitely cause accidents. So I wouldn't suggest doing that because that sounds awful. We've had the debate, I think, on Chuck's show, whether Tesla refuses. I like how the article says Tesla refuses to adopt CarPlay. I've said it before. The system's so integrated with the car that you don't want to F with it so much, and that's what I think. That's what Tesla's saying. They're trying to be self-driving, and that takes away the map feature of CarPlay because it can't use that to drive. So they're trying to promote that. And it's got a pretty good, I don't hate it. So it's, the people who really want it, I don't know if they know why they want it. Anyhow, I wouldn't mess with it. I'm on the beta. I told you guys I'm on the, so I'm doing the beta program with the full self-driving. I signed up for it and like a whole bunch of people, and I'm on a Facebook group with it too. And so we keep every other week we get an update. it's like 10.8 almost killed me this way. It almost killed me that way. 10.83 was about to kill me, but then it stops. It didn't kill me. So now we're all waiting for 10.9. I'm actually a little scared to drive at this point with the thing on. So let's leave the Tesla systems alone, I think, for now.
And before I get to you, Chuck, I did forget to mention the workaround is powered by a Raspberry Pi running a custom build of Android. So
that's what you
right there. That's my red flag. If I was a Tesla owner, no. What do you think, Chuck?
The cars have become so complex now that I'm not sure I want anybody fooling with any of the mission critical systems,
right?
And that includes, the safety systems and the automatic braking, even not in a Tesla. Let's put Tesla aside for a second because it's a unique case. I really don't want to hack my car or have somebody hacking my car at this point because I'm too dependent on all the systems that are built the way they are. So, when I grew up as a kid, you had a grease monkey mechanic or grease monkey mechanics that could take the car apart and put it back together. Now you pretty much have to take your car to a dealership for any significant work because they need to have the hardware and software to run the diagnostics to figure out what's going on. So, I think these proof of concept things are great and, good for him. I hope he doesn't or hasn't compromised his Tesla to the point that it becomes unsafe, but I don't want to ride with him.
Yeah. I don't know what he did.
A little crazy.
It's a lot easier. I mean, if you really wanted, you could mount an iPad in the car. People do that. So,
yeah, I think we've all come to the consensus: do not do this. It's like running beta. Well, Warren, you run beta, but
I haven't put the beta on my car. I'm living. You said beta's going to kill me. It might actually kill me.
Yeah. Next story here. This was a 9 to 5 Mac. We had a couple stories here of some life-saving with Apple products. A woman uses I won't say it, Siri, on AirPods to call 911 after a fall. And they talk about how the feature works here. A woman in New Jersey is credited.
Could you try again?
See, it already went off. I shouldn't have said it. A woman in New Jersey is credited of the ability to using Siri with her AirPods as saving her life after a fall. This was reported. She was working in a floral studio alone when she tripped and hit her head on a sharp metal pole. And had not been wearing her. If she had not been wearing her AirPods, she believes she would have died. And she had quick thinking by saying the hey S lady and to call 911, and it worked. And let's say it was a great reminder to check to make sure that listening for hey S lady is working, because trust me, I've seen it a number of times. As my mother-in-law was, we got her, we switched her phone. She's on an iPhone 11 now, and it was continually stopping to work. And I've had to tell her I had to turn it off and turn it back on and let her retrain it again. So it's really important that you have that. I think it's a good feature as it is. Chuck, what do you think? I think this is pretty awesome that the AirPods did their work.
Well, the AirPods, I mean, just the whole Apple ecosystem.
And the ecosystem itself, right?
No matter which one of the devices we're talking about, they are not inexpensive. We all acknowledge that, but there's a safety factor here that, is, and especially, as Warren said, as some of it, as we all get a little bit older, we're going to inevitably have problems. And, I want to be wearing an Apple Watch. I want to have AirPods in. I want a HomePod sitting, somewhere that I can yell to it, and get reliable help. So, I think we're going to just see more and more of this. I think there's a lot of this stuff that's out there that people maybe, because of the privacy aspects, don't want to share. Some people don't mind doing that. This lady is one of them, or somebody found out about it one way or another. I don't know if she volunteered it, but I think these are going to become very common stories as we see, the S lady, able to help someone that is in distress of one kind or another.
Just a quick jump in is, we like AirPods, but most earphones, even older ones, have the ability to get a hold of the S lady without being there. Obviously, if they're wired, then that doesn't make sense so much because you're attached to the phone. But plenty of wireless, even off-brands have a thing where you can double tap the side or something, and it'll invoke Siri. So
And especially if the iPhone's nearby, you can invoke it as well.
yeah, but even like it, right. So yeah, it's a good story. It's feel good, but of course, Google, you could do the same thing, saying, "Okay, G, call 911." If those rocking the your Microsoft phones could say, "Hey, Cortana," if you want, and see what happens.
Oh, he is in this Windows world, isn't he, Chuck?
Well, I'm just you gotta give love to the Cortana people. So
yeah,
I don't know.
They're
If she's
gone.
I don't know if she's still around, but
Is she is Cortana still around?
Yeah,
I think it's pretty much gone.
I thought it was discontinued.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
All right. Well, we'll move on from that.
Yeah. While Warren's looking it up.
So let's go ahead and move on. We'll move on to another story here. This was in the Mac Daily News. Army mom uses Apple AirTag, to track her family's belongings in a late moving truck. Military families are always enduring delays from movers as disruptions leave them without their household goods for extended periods of time, when they already arrived to their new duty stations. But the AirTag, in this case, can be a big help. This Army wife actually put a AirTag in one of her kids' boxes of her son's toys, and after the dates passed on January 7th, this was this year, she reached out to the move coordinator and learned that they would be delivering it the next day. And it turned out that she was able to confirm that her family's belongings were a mere only 4 hours away, not too far from where she was. So she calls the guy. She gets a call from a driver who tells them, "Oh yeah, we're not going to be there for a couple days." But then she confronts him and says, "Well, it looks like you're only 4 hours away from here. Why didn't you? Why are you saying this?" So there's a bit of a battle there. So I guess in this case, this was a good story, because as we talked last week about stalking with an AirTag, this is an actual legitimate good reason to track your goods or where they are.
Like Apple must be paying these people to write these articles.
Yeah. This was actually in a military website that was talking about this. So I thought this was interesting.
I'll be fast and then Chuck could go. But
go ahead, Juan.
You
take it.
I think they have to be paying some people to write feel good stories about the AirTag, because the evening news, I think yesterday, 2 days ago, like the second lead story was how to know if AirTags are this is like national news, how to know because it's happened twice around here where the news found somebody who had AirTags put in their car twice. So that's making the rounds. And so that's the big news story, is basically this is now a stalking device, and how to know, and some things are true. Like it doesn't actually alert you that there's something on you until I think 10, 12 minutes. So if you know that, you could plan on that. But we've talked about before, GPS tracking is not new. Apple's just better at it. And, we're going to have to, roll with the wrinkles on that one.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Chuck?
Warren's not completely wrong. He's only partially wrong.
Yeah.
No, I think it goes to show you that this is a device that works. And it's depending on how it's used is the issue, but the device itself works exactly as advertised. And don't misunderstand. Stalking is a very serious subject, and I don't want to make light of it. But at the same time, I feel obligated to say, look, here's a way that it can help this person. It can help you in certain situations potentially, and it's probably one of the better. I'm not prepared to say the best system out there, because I haven't done any testing or seen any comparisons. But with all the iPhones and all the Apple devices out there, that the ecosystem for this tag has got to be good. Apple has done things to try to improve the situation so that you're not being stalked if you don't want to be. I guess, kind of the moral of the story here is, no matter what you do, no matter where you are, you're probably under surveillance of some kind. It's just a matter of who has access to that surveillance and what they do with it. In this case, this truck driver got caught with his pants down.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, GPS trackers have been out forever. So there's GPS trackers and small ones. I bought one before I got an AirTag. I bought one for my dog, when she was a puppy. It was a Samsung thing. The whole story is I bought it at Best Buy for like $50, and it came with a year of service. So I knew she probably wouldn't need it after that. So it came with that, and I did a year and I didn't renew it, and it was fine. It worked with Smart Things. That's another thing, like another hub thing. And it's a GPS, so it's accurate for the most part. It wasn't perfect, but the funny part is about 6 months ago, they sent me an email saying, we're no longer doing this device. So it's garbage. Throw it away. So there was that. But to your question, I think the AirTags are better than any non-GPS device out there. Tile. Who else there was a couple of others out there, but they're obviously the biggest network, unless you go to GPS devices.
Well, the one other thing too that I sort of said a minute ago, and I want to be specific. I don't know, and if I'm wrong about this, someone please correct me. I don't know of any other of the devices that have an option for warning you that their device might be being used to track you.
Tile changed something where it uses Tile's network now, so I don't know if they have or they can. So they changed something, and then what they also do. Was Tile also doing the Amazon sidewalk thing? Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know that there's a system built in that.
No, I don't know either. But I'm wondering if that's going to change now that they sort of have a better communication and they could know where things are and separate you. Maybe if one tile user puts a tile on you and you're another tile user, it might know that you're not the owner at this point because of the network, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, but it just, I mean, Apple did that, pretty quickly when this started to happen. And it may not be perfect, but it's certainly an improvement. So if anything, it makes me think, and I think Jeff Gamma was the one that said this, I hope somebody tries to track me with an AirTag because I will find out about it. If they slap some kind of GPS tracker on me, they'll know, and I will never have any idea.
But the other way around is, we put things that, get lost, but, we wanted to put things on like a backpack that gets stolen, and it goes the other way and it backfires, right? Because now the person who stole my bag in 10 minutes says you're being, tracked by an unknown device. And that's where Apple had the problem, because it doesn't make a good theft deterrent device if you have an iPhone and you know that there's after 10 minutes, there's an AirTag somewhere in there, start taking it apart.
Yeah.
So so how do you fix that?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. We're back to how it's being used or abused. And, so if I really want to track something, I'm going to use an AirTag. But if the thief is tech savvy and has an iPhone, they may be able to scan and determine that there's an AirTag that is following them that is not intended for them.
You say that about people being stalked. If they're tech savvy and have an iPhone, then they can know they're being stalked. I mean, it comes back to, me personally, I'd rather not tell anybody that it's with them, because I'd rather put it on something that, again, if somebody takes, I don't want them to know that that I'm tracking them.
Yeah, but like you said, you can't have it both ways, unfortunately.
That's a problem. Yeah.
That's a real problem.
Yeah. And I think that's why Apple played with the time. Remember the time of when it started to alert you. I think that was their.
Yeah, well, that was
their gauge. What's the time frame that we actually notify these people that you have something with you, and then the Android people complained, so they had to do something about that and made an app for the Androids too.
Yeah, they'll never win, but
well, that's a good point. The apps there's an app for the Android too, right?
There is.
Yeah, so you don't even need the iPhone anymore.
Well, assuming that the Android person downloads the app.
I mean, why else wouldn't you? Why would?
Well,
yeah, that's a strange question. Why would you, or why wouldn't you download that?
Right. Our last story here. This is a couple articles here. The references I'm reading off of the Hacker News here. New unpatched Apple Safari browser bug allows cross-site user tracking, and this one gets kind of technical. It was a bug that was introduced in Apple's Safari 15 when it it implementation of an index DB API that could be abused by a malicious website to track users' online activity in the web browser, and even worse, reveal their identity. This has been going on since November of 2021, and just to kind of sum it up here, it is a pretty bad vulnerability, and Apple has not fixed it yet. And we're also not even sure it's going to be fixed. And this affects not only Mac, it affects iOS as well, and iPadOS. So just kind of be aware that it is a thing. At least on a Mac, you can use a different browser. You could stop using Safari while this is happening. On an iOS and iPadOS device, you don't have a choice because the Safari engine is part of browsing the internet. So again, there's no mention. There's a saying potentially that iOS 15.3, the latest beta, that might be fixing this, but there is no way of doing it. And then to make matters worse, private browsing mode also is affected, so you can't browse privately, and that does not happen. So more of awareness here. I don't know. What do you think, Chuck? This is kind of a pretty nasty bug.
Yeah,
they fixed it, by the way. The thing that came out today fixed it. I'm reading.
Oh, did it fix it today? I was going to say, it's going to get fixed pretty quick.
Yeah, it's fixed in the release candidate. So
okay, because I did reference the Mac. There's a Mac Rumors article that iOS 15 patched security hole.
So
okay, so we're good.
Yeah, good.
And so just be aware. So when 15.3 does hit, it's probably going to be something you probably want to upgrade right away.
Yeah. And again, it's just one more advertisement to keep, especially your iOS software, but if nothing else, but keep things up to date.
100%. All right, a little extra news here this week, but let's go ahead and move on to topics. And again, we're just talking about iOS 15.3. They seeded the release candidate to developers and the public beta today as we record this. Again, there really isn't anything notable that's in there. So it's obviously a lot of bug fixes and security patches like we were just talking about, some under the hood improvements. Still no word on when Universal Control is going to get released for Monterey. I don't think that it's going to be until probably in the spring at this point. They're probably still working on it. Then, of course, the IDs in a wallet, that's going to be a long way down the road. We've talked about that. So I don't think there's really not much else. I mean, Warren, you've been on it. I'm assuming you downloaded it this morning when it hit. And
I did. Yep. Yeah, nothing major. I say this a lot, but a little snappier, which is good.
Okay, that's good to know.
So what, next week? I'm guessing you guys will get it.
Release candidate. If it's on, usually typically Apple does when they release it on a Thursday. I typically that following Tuesday it'll go live. Yeah. And also in the watchOS 8.4, which I did notice this problem. I have an article here from Mac Rumors that there was a charging bug that's been a lot of people complaining about with third-party chargers, but it was also affecting me because there would be sometimes I'm using the old Apple charger, the disc that had the charging base on it that's plugged in with a lightning cable, and that could be the reason why, because it is a lightning cable as opposed to the USB, since I have a Series 7. And that's what this affects, is Series 7 watch and other watches too. But I think mostly Series 7 here, that the third party, the chargers were not functioning as expected, or they wouldn't even charge at all. Because there'd be times I charge my watch on my bedside, and other than me maybe hitting it while it's on my nightstand, I was finding, oh my God, why didn't this charge? And I was like, hey, it's positioned right. So there's one big pretty good bug that should be squashed when Watch OS 8.4 comes out. Anything you want to add, Chuck?
No, I'm happy to say that I don't know that I've been affected by any of these issues. So,
okay. You got a Series 7, right?
I have a Series 7 and it's been charging just fine. Interesting, because I think on one of the shows we talked a little bit about it. It seemed at first to be burning up the charge real quick. And not real quick. I mean, by the end of the day, I didn't have nearly what I was left over with on my 6. And then that just sort of slowly went away. It was almost like, okay, the battery was trained and got warmed up, and now it's humming along fine. So now I wear it all day, and I'm seldom down past probably 25% used. So
okay.
yeah.
You had any charging problems with yours, Warren?
No, there was one day that I thought it was charging and it didn't, but that was fine. No, I haven't had the problem, and I could tell you that the only thing I could tell you about the update is it updated mad fast. I've never seen an Apple Watch do an update like that as quickly as it did today. So
yeah,
that's good.
I've noticed the updates have improved.
Yeah, it was like 15 minutes. You remember when it used to be 2 hours on the Series 1 and 2?
Oh, sure.
It was brutal.
It was horrible.
So, tvOS, again, nothing really to talk about. The bug fixes, they never really do much with that. So that's beta this week, and we'll probably anticipate, like we said, since this is a release candidate, we anticipate that's probably going to get released next week. So, next topic I wanted to talk about, Chuck, since you and I both are ones who go to CES, I'd like to just kind of go over a little bit of a recap of what we could absorb, since we obviously weren't able to attend the conference this year. And I know you put out some great shows this week, these last few weeks, for some of the people you could talk to. What was kind of your impression of what you found that attracted you this year with some of the stuff that was out there?
It was a tough year for CES because of COVID, because just as CES was coming up, it seemed like the Omicron scare was, starting to plateau, or at least it was very significant. I made the choice not to go. I know I had made appointments with a lot of people, and I was getting emails at the last minute that they had decided not to attend. So there was one, and I did try to do one remote interview from their booth at CES, and that was a challenge just because of bandwidth. You knew it was going to be.
And you anticipate that.
Yeah, it's tough. It really is. I think that it really shows the importance of good press releases and good websites, and having those assets online. I was quite shocked at the number of announcements I saw in press release that you go to the website. Yeah, they had for press people, they would have a Dropbox where they'd have the press release, maybe some photos and all. But you go to the website and there's nothing. There's not a CES page. This is what we announced at CES. Nothing at all. So I feel like this. I hope some people learned some lessons. And unfortunately, I think everybody had some level of contingency plan, but some didn't, or at least not a good enough one. And so, they squeezed by like we all did, made do. So, this was certainly not a life or death situation, happily, for most of us. But, there were some great announcements, some really interesting products. There are always those products that just iterate on things. I would be hard pressed to say this was my favorite announcement, or that was my favorite announcement, because I don't have my hands on those products yet. But certainly, folks have been working on these, and we will continue to see stuff roll out. So I hope that we can get back to normal, and that more people will go to CES next year, including David, you and me, that we will feel like it's worth it and is safe to go. Because I think CES did everything possible. And, I have not heard anything about, oh my God, CES was a super spreader event.
No.
So I think they succeeded. You and I have talked about this a little bit, but one of my big concerns wasn't necessarily getting infected at the show, because CES was requiring vaccination cards. They were requiring tests. They were requiring masks. But if I got it somewhere on the strip, at a restaurant one night or whatever, I'm stuck in Vegas for 5 to 10 days in a hotel room. I can't enjoy the city. I have no support if I should really need it. And it just didn't play into the percentages for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. My health is most important, and I didn't feel at all safe. And besides my problems with media access, that's a whole other story. But I just didn't feel safe either. So, but we did get to attend some of the press events that were available to us, and got some good information, and it was really good. I put a link here in show notes to one of these websites. This was on Apple Must, and just kind of go over some of the products that they that stood out as Apple friendly products for 2022. I'll mention a couple of them here. Eve, which is very, very, very popular products with their outdoor cams and their smart plugs and such. They came out with an outdoor cam. They're exciting. $250. And they were supposed to ship in April, and it's going to be full access, full support with Apple's HomeKit security audio. So you'll be able to it'll locally process video recordings and encrypt and store to your iCloud account, which is cool. And Eve has always been very supportive with Apple products, which is great. I know that a lot of people talked about this Wemo HomeKit secure video smart doorbell that is out there too. Another $250 product, and it does provide a 178-degree view. It's a 4-megapixel camera with night vision and person detection, and uses information about people's tagged in your Photos app. So that's kind of scary that you got you have a doorbell here, and if you have a photo of somebody, it'll know just by plugging into that. So that should be interesting. Eve also has these motion blinds, which you can get, which are very expensive, $400 a shade, depending on the material. Another interesting thing with that, and we did talk about. I did talk about last week. A lot of the new earbuds that are out. Belkin had some, and Jabra had this one. But also, this one was interesting. This Targus Cypress Hero backpack. I don't know if you talked with anybody with Targus, but this is interesting. It has the built-in Find My system is now in the backpack itself, so you don't even have to have an AirTag in your backpack. It's already going to be able to find this backpack without any problems. And they got an innovation honoree on it to having the built-in location tracker, so you know where your backpack is. So I don't know if you did you talk? I don't think we had any communication with Targus, but
no. But I'm like you. I'm intrigued by this. I'm always on the lookout for a good backpack, and I was impressed by the look of the backpack, let alone the built-in Find My. So I'm anxious to know about how you replace the battery in it, how long that that lasts, and exactly what the range is, because it is not an AirTag. So it just works with their system. So I definitely want to get some details on it.
But there was a lot of cases out there, and a lot of, there are always going to be tons of iPhone cases. And I know a lot of those vendors weren't at the event, and we didn't see too many, even in the virtual events that we attended. So that's going to be something interesting to see how this goes. I mean, we'll see. Yes, exists. I mean, and I would assume it would. And the rest of these events for the rest of this year, the press events of the products, let's just hope we get to be able to attend these again in the future, because this is the fun time of year for you and I, and for us, that we want to find out what's going on in the consumer electronics world, and we weren't able to go. It was kind of disappointing, but got to be safe.
Well, and CES is not just for the press. There's so much business done at
vendor
CES
and business, right?
That you feel like it's there are all these dire predictions. I don't believe it's going to go away. Will it evolve? It might evolve a little bit. We might see, but then again, think about WWDC. We've seen that evolve from an in-person event to a virtual event. Mm-hmm. I think some of us are hoping that it stays, at least Apple's part stays virtual. So I think there are lessons to be learned here, just like we've all learned lessons in business over the past 2 years about ways to deliver more information virtually and still have the importance of the in-person event for the people that want or need it.
Yeah, I agree. Any thoughts, Warren, with CES? Do you like to follow some of the stuff? I know you haven't been there yet, but
no. Well, first of all, I enjoy watching you and Chuck, listening to you guys do the interviews. Is definitely heard of all of Chuck's interviews, which was cool. The being stuck in a hotel room sounds fun for a day or two, I guess, but maybe the third day not so much. And then you were talking about how it's mostly catered to press, but I don't know. Like the WWDC is really catered towards developers, but some people like me, who aren't a developer, get some interest out of it too. But not as much as going to CES as non-press and just loving gadgets. So I think it's for anybody who just wants to, who's a gadget geek and wants to go. There was, when I lived in England, they had a similar thing. It wasn't as big, but it was they had their gadget show kind of thing, and they had vendors, and it was small, but it was fun. So I enjoy those things. I enjoy Vegas. I want to go one year or so. Hopefully
we all do.
Hopefully it will. Or the wife and I are counting the days until we could get back there. So fun town.
Absolutely. So that'll be it for this year for CES. So we'll hope for the best for next year. But they'll definitely be covering as new technology keeps coming out for the rest of this year. So before we wrap up, I wanted to squeeze in a quick tip here. The control center on the Apple Watch. It doesn't get a lot of attention sometimes, but I always found it to be intriguing. And I've got a link here in the show notes to actually a sport article that Apple sends out. But kind of wanted to go over some of the things that the control center has to offer, and then that you can control on the watch. I think notably some of the things that I like. I like the fact that you can go into your control center. It shows right away what your battery power is, and you can tap it, and it brings up how much battery life is left, as well as you can control power reserve. If you have a cellular version of the watch, you can turn the cellular on and off right from the control center. Airplane mode, you got that. Silent mode, which I keep on all the time, is I'm not a huge fan of the sounds. I'd rather just do the vibration. I don't know about you guys, but I like it to be set at no vibration. And then, of course, do not disturb carries over with the iPhone as well, and then a couple other things here, like the water lock. You can what it's for is actually if you press and tap the water lock, it prevents accidental taps, as well as like if you choose to swim. And I've always never been brave enough to swim with my Apple Watch.
Really?
But no, I don't know about you, Chuck, but
I swim a lot with all of them, and not once have I had a problem with it. So.
The water lock, what's great about it, and that's the logo that's got the water drop. You could tap that locks it from any accidental taps, so then it can't be tapped. You turn it on, but it also doubles as it does send a loud pings noise out of the speaker in the watch to push out the water, because it does the water does get into the watch into that, and it does release it. I'm sure you've done that since you do swim with yours.
Yeah, I wish my phone had it on my charging jack. Because the thing gets moist and it's like can't charge. It's wet. Yeah.
Of course, the most popular probably of all of them is the Find My iPhone ping. You just tap that and it'll start piercing a sound. One tip I'll say with that ping, you also can tap and hold that button, and not only does it send the sound, it also turn the flashlight on and off so it flashes. So if you can't hear it really really distinctly, you have a visual way of doing that as well, which is great. That's really an awesome feature on that as well. And the flashlight, of course, is popular as well. And the flashlight also has different colors, so you can actually go through, and if you want to swipe through it, there's a flashing white, so that really will drive you crazy, and if you can't get anywhere. And then there's the red. So you do have a couple different modes for the flashlight. So there is the walkie-talkie, which I think I was such a novelty when it first came out, and I haven't touched it. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't touched or used it since. I don't even know if it's a feature that's going to be around much longer if they see anybody, too many people are using it. But I guess maybe some people do. But check this article out, and we'll talk more in the future shows about some of the other features. I don't want to get too deep into this. I gave you some of the notable ones when it comes out into the control center. Did you guys have any other thoughts about the control center? I mean, anything I missed that you might use? How about you, Chuck?
No, I love these articles because there's so many features. I mean, you were mentioning the walkie-talkie, and you're right. It's not something I use, but all these features, you don't have to use every feature of the watch or the phone or your Mac to make it useful. And I like these articles. Anytime somebody comes up, I admit I'm a sucker. You start throwing me 80 different things you can do with, and then I kind of say, well, that's a little much. But, these 10 or 20 things, I usually scroll through them because I often find something I didn't know. But more importantly, I am reminded about, hey, I forgot about that feature and I could really use that. So, I think these are great. And, I'm glad you did that really quick run through of them because, there are a couple of things there that I forgot about.
And this is great because Apple does provide a lot of people don't realize. I mean, there's I'll actually put it in the show notes too. All the user guides. You get links to the user guides, the Apple Watch, the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac. And the nice thing about it is it's not like, back in the old days, you'd have a printed copy of a manual. Of course, it's going to get outdated when something changes. So that they update it in real time. So when something changes, it's always going to be there. And I always keep links, even on my iPhone on my homepage, on one of my homepages. I could just go to the manual and look at that too. But this is an actual support article that Apple put together just on the Control Center. So it's good refresher. So those who've been using an Apple Watch for a long time, or those who just don't like to explore it for too long with it. But it's all good stuff. So, and with that, let's go and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. We now have a new way to support the show. If you want to support the show, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/intouchwithios. We would really appreciate that. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/DaveG65, where you can also watch and listen to all the past shows out there on YouTube. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, getting a lot of traction on there, and I bookmark all of the different topics we talk about for that week out there. So you'll see the articles that we referenced in the news today, as well as all the other articles that interest me. And you can also subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, which is also on Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Chuck, thanks again for being here. We always love having you. Where can people find you?
Hey, David, thank you for having me. It's always a blast. You can find everything I do at macvoices.com. Lots of articles, interviews, details. We do Mac Voices Live on Tuesday nights. David and Warren are part of that at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We'd love to have you join us at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. Thanks again for having me, David. Oh, and on the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner, of course.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you, Chuck. Warren, where people can find you?
Well, it's always a good week when I get to speak to you and Chuck twice in 1 week, so that's good. So that was fun. So we do basically I do this and that with Chuck. I also do the Facebook Back to the Future group. Actually, somebody in some podcast or somewhere mentioned us because we got a nice influx of new members this week, 30, 40. I don't know where they came from.
Yeah, you guys are over 4,000 now.
Yeah, I know. Somebody said something and they came, so that's good. That pretty much come hang if that's what you like to do.
All right, appreciate that. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we will talk again soon.